Speaking of the way, there are a few ways I'd rather follow more than our regular recurring guest on Education Station and the CEO at Carrier's Edge, who is the sponsor of this segment, Jane Jazrawy, who joins us this morning. Hey, Jane, welcome back.
Hey, Jimmy. I'm glad to be back
Um,
at dark 30 in the morning.
oh, that's
That's
right.
no, it's not that bad.
It, it's
It's not that bad. It's actually light out right now, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's been worse. And by the way, as the season rolls on, my friend, it's going to get worse because it'll get darker in the
I,
mornings, something like that. I don't know how it works. I'm never quite sure.
no, it's great when daylight is happening because then it's easier to be awake. But we get long days and then long nights. So I will take this as while I have it.
I got a strange shout out on LinkedIn, by the way. Missy Blair, who will be talking about her work over at Pima Community College Center for Transportation Training in just a second here. Pretty much let everybody know that I had no idea what I was going to be talking about, and I trusted Jimmy enough to kind of get me through to the other side of that. Um, it's one of the ways we work here. I mean, you and I
Yeah.
do some prep. You do send me notes of stuff you want to kind of talk about. But one of the things, that's so important, and it's why we constantly keep reading. I tell people this when they go to college or when they're studying something new, and I'm always kind of amazed at the number of people who think unless they have an assignment, they don't have any work to do. I'm consistently kind of not flummoxed, but the people who think, am I wasting my time by simply going over something I've been over with before? I tell them no, because the more familiar you are with it, the more you have to kind of pull and be able to talk at a moment's notice about practically anything. When I got these notes these morning, when I got your notes these yesterday, when they were all loaded up in here, and was going through them
hmm
again, there is really the beginning of a conversation almost everywhere in the transportation sector about soft skills and lifestyle preparation that you kind of picked up on both with Donnie and Missy over the last couple of weeks. I don't know where to begin other than to say good morning, and where would you like to begin?
Well, good morning back. And I think people think about soft skills as communication, basically. Like, soft skills is you can listen, you can empathize, you can do all of this. But there's a lot of soft skills that are just about you, yourself, and how you interact with the world. And I've really, since the pandemic, and the pandemic really brought this out because you people were on their own and you didn't have the ability to sort of rely on other people, so you had to kind of use your own strengths, and some people don't have them, and the kids that were in school at the time didn't have the chance to develop them as well as when we went to school. We had a lot of social time and a lot of freedom, and things were a little happier, so you could build these skills. And the skills that I'm talking about are confidence, resiliency, and self-advocacy. And these are not things that anyone says, okay, we're going to talk about confidence today in class, and we're going to, I'm going to teach you the 5 things that you need to know to be confident. All that happens, and this has happened throughout my life, is people tell you when you don't have it. it's so I think it's something that we can focus on and actually start to develop in people.
Oh, I do too. And by the way, the West Point actually teaches classes on confidence.
Well, yeah. See, I didn't go to West Point. Damn.
And by the
But
way, he wrote a book. I mean, Professor Zinzer wrote a book on it. By the way, it's actually hot. I mean, it's actually exercises, and I don't mean like woo woo stuff. I mean genuine
hmm
exercises that work on how to actually build confidence. And I was, and I went through the book, and I'm like, oh my God, this would actually work if you did this. This would work because really, what people should be doing in regards to that confidence that you just mentioned is, and I was talking about this with TAT, the idea of building infrastructures, building your own kind of personal infrastructures to have as a foundational thing to kind of navigate your way through almost any situation. Do you think that can be taught?
yes. Oh, absolutely. I think it can be taught. It can be. It's one of those things. It's kind of like social skills. The ability to interact with people that you don't know in uncomfortable situations. When things are unexpected. people with really, really good social skills don't have a problem handling any kind of situation with another person. People who have um, more underdeveloped social skills start panicking, they feel great anxiety, they don't know how to cope. And when you give them coping mechanisms, that's when they start to develop develop that lack of anxiety as soon as you go to the store kind of thing. Because going to the store is a social situation. The same thing, so that's kind of your infrastructure, is you're getting taught skills to, or getting taught ways to cope with, or what to do in a situation. And confidence is really about knowing what you're going to do. It's like having, like what you said, is having a framework in order to deal with a situation that you don't know what's going to come up, but you know the steps to take when something happens.
I
And that's, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. Finish up.
I was just going to say, and that's the kind of thing that's going to help people. It's not what to do in every specific situation, but the framework.
I want to, we're going to get Chowder on here in just a second. He actually gave us a call, but I also wanted to say, I'll give you a great example. So you're a relatively new driver. You arrive at a grocery store, arrive on a dock, and I don't want to say chaos. There is cacophony all around
Yes.
you. And who you're supposed to give, who you're supposed to give your papers to, who you're supposed to meet with, is nowhere to be found. A lot of people end up detaining themselves because they don't have the wherewithal to kind of step forward and say, okay, who do I got to talk to right now? And there's a lot of guys out there listening who are like, what are you talking about? I'm a loud guy. I'm just going to push my way through. But there's a lot of people when they first start off don't have that skill set to kind of go, hey, I got this right here. What do I do with it? You know what I'm saying? And that seems like such a simple thing. But the amount of detention, I wonder how much anxiety and paralysis causes detention time. I mean, unpack
I
that a little
think it
bit.
contributes it. I think it contributes to it, but I don't think that. I think that drivers all across the country would probably be like, no, I don't think it's
Oh, I don't
quite
mean
that, but
that.
it does contribute to it.
No, I don't mean
I
that
think
it's
that
the
if you
biggest
can't,
reason. No, 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 absolutely
yeah,
not. I know actually who's
but
causing it is people not doing their jobs on the docks, but go ahead.
exactly. But the same thing, confidence can really help you in that, where if you know, okay, if this situation is happening at a dock, here are the steps to take. So find the person who looks like make sure that you check in at the gate, and then find the person who looks like they're at the center. Uh, be Figure out how to comport yourself as well. So even the confidence is not being loud and obnoxious. Confidence is making yourself heard, but being polite. That politeness is also a sign of confidence. If you start being aggressive to people, that's not a sign of confidence. It's a sign that you're being aggressive and you're probably going to get a negative reaction. But confidence is, politeness is part of confidence. Asking for help, which you think might be kind of weird, but asking for help is actually a really important sign of confidence. It means that you're okay with not knowing. And many people have anxiety because they think if they ask a question, they're going to somehow, I don't know, get in trouble or the heavens will rain down. I don't know. But that's where a lot of anxiety comes from. So being able to ask the question, look at your situational cues and figure it out from there. And also make sure that when you go into a situation that you have done as much preparation as you possibly can. So if you know where you're supposed to go, you know who you're supposed to, even if you've never met them before, if you know who you're supposed to talk to, that is going to help you with your confidence. And then it's just practice. Like we've said over and over again, practice, practice, practice. If you've done it for 20 years, you're not worried.
The other thing is that what the confidence allows you to do, and this goes back to the idea of how to kind of, this is where you can actually cut back on your detention, is establishing relationships. If you actually have the
Yes.
confidence to go out there and say, okay, and you made mention of this from what Missy and I were talking about, the idea that it's like, who is the lady or the man behind the big desk that actually might not run,
Hmm.
the one who doesn't have the title that they run things, but everybody will tell you, oh, Gladys runs things. Yeah, you can skip talking to the CEO. You can skip talking to the boss. Go talk to Gladys. She runs things. She knows where all the bodies are buried. And if you establish relationships like that, when you get to docks or you get to hubs or you get to locations where they got everybody waiting, it's like, oh, wait, there's Jane. Hey, Jane, come on up here. We'll take care of you right now because we know what you do. We know who you are. You've established a relationship with you. We know what your loads are like. We know how well, you are, how easy it is to get you unpacked and get you out of here. Sometimes establishing those relationships might not be keeping you in good stead in the moment you do them, but down the line, it really makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's not so much those relationships are really important, but being able to build the relationships, you kind of have to fake the confidence before you
Exactly.
have it. And you have to it's not about just acting a certain way, it's about the state of your truck. Have you done a pre-trip? Are your tires flat? Is everything filthy? Like how are you presenting yourself? So you kind of fake it till you make it. And what you do is make sure that all of your stuff is taken care of so that when someone asks you or when you ask someone for help, you don't look like a slob and you don't look like you should be ignored. So there's a couple of things. So confidence is there's like steps to it that you have to work on it. And so when people are when people tell students do this, do this, do this, they don't realize that what students don't always realize that what they're getting are the tips for success later on and the tips that are going to make you look good or make you look confident later on because Lord knows I fake it all the time when I'm nervous. I'm nervous all the time and you have to be like, okay, I know how it looks to be confident and so I'm going to do that. And then people don't know.
Well, and the other thing is, too, and makes a big difference for all of you guys who are listening out there who at some point after 20, 25 years on the road might want to make the move to a more local job and become a trainer. I can't emphasize this enough, and I'd love your take on this, Jane. I don't think enough teachers, although I know a lot on a personal level that do this, but I've seen it in schools that I've worked at training programs I've worked at, law enforcement agencies, the amount of people who don't explain the payoff on something in the idea that it's like, do this, do this, do this, do this. Now learn it and get tested on it. I'm like going, yeah, but you haven't made it much easier for them to ace the test. Well, how's that? Tell them what it all accumulates to. You see what I'm saying? The idea that if you do the pre-trip, if you actually take the time to wash your clothes on a regular basis, if in fact, you keep your fingernails clean, all of that kind of stuff, that means the handshake is personable and not disgusting. That means you're remembered for being a guy or a gal on top of your stuff. That means you develop relationships faster. Nobody ever explains the payoff. They don't explain how all these little bits and pieces of information add up to something larger. I almost at the end of tests want people to say, sum up everything you've just covered on this test in a single paragraph and what it all means. You know what I'm saying? We don't ever talk about what it all means.
Yeah, well, you try. I think that a lot of teachers and instructors try, but there is so many little, because you just named a whole bunch of little details and never mentioned confidence. Like you just never mentioned it. So, people, it almost sounds like, and I don't think that you sounded like this, but if you talk about this, or if you talk about it over and over and over again, then it tends to be kind of heard as a little bit of nagging, and people kind of don't really pay attention to it. They're like, yeah, I know, but they don't actually do it. You had a guest on a while ago, and I can't remember. One of the things that she did that I thought was so spectacular, and it's because of this whole thing about confidence, is that she started her class with a pre-trip. And I can sort of envision her, but I can't remember her name. But starting a class with a pre-trip, just because that's how you start your day, is building the habit that is going to build confidence. And that's, I think, the thing that we don't connect is that if you want to succeed, there are things that you're going to have to do that you don't want to do, like exercises. You want to be fit, you have to do exercises every day. And those, the exercises, everybody knows they're going to get you there, but you have to do them. And same thing with a pre-trip. You have to do it. You have to clean your fingernails. You have to be polite to people. And but what all that does is give you the payoff of you look really confident and you look like someone who's going places, and people will probably want to be around you and promote you.
Well, yeah, and like I said, in the pre-trip too, the other thing is that I noticed a lot of people do. We actually did it here. It's like we're going to talk about this, and I think a lot of people don't remember. It's like we are headed towards this destination now. Having kind of laid out what the destination is, what do you say we make the leap now to break it down into smaller pieces? I think that's the other thing, the real trick in regards to training or instruction. And a great thing for those people who actually work in their own companies as trainers to onboard people, saying like, by the time this is over with, I want you to be able to do the following stuff for the following
Yep.
reasons. And I think that becomes almost like the manifesto that hangs over the head of the student. They're always referring back to the overall point. The principle of the objective really applies. Okay, we do this all the time. I want to make sure we get through these three great terms. Let's talk about resiliency. Let's just kind of unpack your
Okay.
thoughts on what that means.
So resiliency is something that I think that got really lost with the pandemic because there wasn't this practice with social skills. And a lot of, people who are probably in their early 20s, mid 20s now, well, actually, the ones who are in the earlier 20s are probably suffering from it and not having enough practice with resiliency and failure. And we've talked about failure. And this is how you build resiliency. And what I mean by resiliency is the ability to pick yourself back up, the ability to go, you know what, I'm not going to quit because I had a bad trip, or I'm not going to quit after my first month out because it was hard. I know what I'm going to be doing. I know what I want to get to, so I'm going to allow myself to fail. It's going to be okay. And being able to not beat yourself up or get angry with other people when there's some sort of a failure, that's resiliency. It's like, okay, what can I do better? What can I do better? And one of the things that is part of building confidence and resiliency is doing something that scares the crap out of you. Doing something that you really don't want to do, that, not something that's illegal or terrible for you or anything, but something where it's just really scary. Doing it, getting through that, and being able to do it again is really builds your resiliency. I had this with flying. I don't know, in my mid 20s, I've always been a bad flyer. In my mid 20s, or no, my mid 30s, I just kind of stopped. I was like, nope, I'm not flying anymore. I'm just not doing it. I can't do it. No, it's too hard. And I didn't fly for 10 years. And then, and then I started flying again, and it was kind of like one trip at a time. How are we going to get through this one trip at a time? It was scary, and I spent a lot of time coping. I had coping mechanisms for flying, and, I had nail marks in other people, but, I got through it, and I can mostly fly pretty good now. I'm a bad flyer.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that it's one of those things where sometimes we all can't be as lucky or as wealthy as John Madden and take trains to every single playoff game that we actually have to cover for the
Yeah,
NFL. So at
I
some
love
point,
that.
by the way, yeah, I mean, he got to the point where he got so wealthy and so well known, he got to take trains everywhere. I mean, that was him compensating for that. It's
Yes,
important to remember that there are things that we can say to ourselves, okay, well, I choose not to do that. But in choosing not to do that, I can then not be angry that opportunities that would normally come my way by doing that are not going to come my way. That there
exactly.
is no workaround. That's the other thing too. Are you willing to accept a diminished life? Are you willing to accept a life with less possibilities in it? And I think that's another thing too that we could ask people. We'll use your flying example just as an example in a classroom. It's like you don't have to fly, guys, but here are the things that are not going to happen for you when you don't fly. And to make
Mhm.
it positive, to say, do you want any of the following? Yes. Well, in order for those things to happen in your life, you're going to have to fly. You're going to have to get on a plane. It's like, because everybody can't do a 2 week, trip across the ocean to go to Europe. I mean, that's just not the reality of it. So you got to kind of make those decisions. How do we track resiliency? What are strategies can we actually check in with ourselves and say, am I being more resilient?
I think it's doing the things that you really don't want to do. And knowing that they will lead to good things and doing them when you just really, really don't want to do them. And I think, and getting through that, that's step one. But then also getting feedback and learning from mistakes. People don't mind that you make a mistake. So you get a flat tire on the road because you didn't do a pre-trip properly, and you're kicking yourself because you knew that something was wrong and you didn't report it because of whatever. Owning up to the mistake and sort of saying, okay, what should I do next time? And making sure you do that the next time is going to help your resiliency, because you're going to get support from other people as well. But you have to be honest with people about you don't have to say that you're terrified. You can say that, I have a block with this, or I need to you need to help me, you need to remind me to do this, or, find other people that are going to help you get through the thing you don't want to do, and then build some successes. Because really what happens to improve is that you get successes. So you will have a failure, you will get back up, people will pat you on the back and say, you can do it this time. You fail your CDL test the first time. Okay, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? Talk to your instructors, go and do that test again, and you'll probably do it better the next time, because one, you're familiar with that unknown, horrible, frightening thing, and two, you've gotten feedback and you have put the work in. There's always work to put in yourself. It's not a magic bullet. Confidence and resiliency are practice.
Game, set, match is never really the way this plays out until finally we shuffle off our mortal coil. Let's talk about self-advocacy in the few moments we have remaining. Jane Jazrawy, as she is oft to do, joins us as the only regular recurring guest on Education Station. We got a phone call, Trey? Let's bring Chowder on for a minute here, Jane. I think he wants to get in on this
Sure.
confidence conversation. Jump in, Chowder. What's going on?
Hey, morning, guys.
Hey, Chowder.
Morning, young lady. Good to hear you on there, and I like a lot of the points you're talking about. The problem I'm having is the chowderisms out here, as Dre will relate to, is I'm in and out of cornfields of South Dakota, so signal's a little sketchy at times.
We just heard it.
Okay.
So I'm going through the area just for the happens to be where Into the Wild was filmed, so that's kind of the area I'm in. I like your idea, and I agree with you that confidence, resiliency are two of the biggest building blocks to help people get self-esteem and be able to accomplish a lot of things they can't and overcome their fears. I also think critical thinking is one of those things that needs to be taught, reinforced, and redone daily and continuously to keep people sharp on being able to make the right ideas, to make the right choices, to grow in their personal abilities, regardless of where you work or what industry. I think the biggest destroyer to that was the COVID years. It drove people to believe in AI and GBT, chat GBT, whatever that fancy technology is I don't understand. And it caused people not to be able to communicate face-to-face or otherwise with people, and we see it daily, because it caused people to take too much direction from outside sources to lead them like lemons, and they lost the ability to critically think and self-analyze and critique themselves, which leads to problems for them not liking to be critiqued by others, their superiors or otherwise, so they're hesitant to actually interact. But I think if, like you say, we get back to critical thinking, confidence will be built up, resiliency will help you succeed, and failure can be the greatest teaching of all of them.
Chowder,
Absolutely, I totally agree.
by the way, I always love it when people actually listen. By the way, that's critical thinking. Thank you for the call, Chowder. I got to wrap this up with
All right,
Jane.
later, guys.
Have a good one. We'll get, by the way,
Bye.
and by the way, Jane, you're coming on tomorrow, and we'll talk about Carrier's Edge tomorrow in a little more detail. But I also, let's make a point of wrapping up. We'll get to self-advocacy at the end of that, because I do think that's really important, because you're going to be self-advocating tomorrow, by the way, for how terrific Carrier's Edge
will.
is. So we can give an example of that. We can do that. I want to give you the final thought here before we shuffle off. Anything you want to kind of tie this up in a bow for us?
Well, self advocacy is kind of a combination of confidence and resilience. Self advocacy is the ability to speak up for yourself when there is something that's happening. So if you have a problem, if you have a concern, the ability to find the right person and basically give your, make your case. This is really, really important. It's important to go through when you're going through school. If you don't understand something as you're going through a program, and it's a basic thing, you need to make sure that you know that you've figured it out. And no one knows what's going on inside your head. You have to tell your instructors that you don't understand, and they are paid to help you understand, and they will go through it over and over again with you. But you have to ask. And there's a lot of people who won't ask because they think that they're pulling everybody else back. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. And so you need to think about how you're going to understand, how you're going to succeed, and the ways that you can find other people to help you and find other people that want to help you succeed as well. And that's kind of where you need to have the confidence to go and find that person and ask. And you also need to have the resiliency to fail, because sometimes people won't help you, but that doesn't mean that you stop trying.
That's a nice way to
Don't
button it.
stop trying.
Don't stop
Yeah.
trying. Don't stop believing. Don't stop with Jane Jazrawy, because as Sting said about Lady Gaga, never stop. Thank you, my friend. I will talk with you tomorrow, okay?
All right. I look forward to it. I'll talk to you later.
Jane Jazrawy, of course, is the CEO of CarriersEdge.